Welcome to another design sesh. Today we are going to look at a unified concept. I'm just going to call it a super concept. That just is easier. This is where we take our past three visionary screens that we created. We're going to combine the best ideas from each of them into one. So, uh, yeah, this is it. Let's just go through it piece by piece. This is a roster screen, which is really the central screen you're going to come to every week in order to make your updates. So a lot of screens matter, but this is the screen we've been working on because it's really, if there's a central part to the VFL experience, this is it. Across the top, we've updated the navigation. So we've kept this VFL intentionally scuffed logo. It looks really cool, in my opinion, in this really tight layout. So I kept that. I did do an updated version of that, which you can see over on the website at rampant.dev. The menu we've reduced to 5 items, so we'd rely on some sub menus for things like guide. And then we've added this element here where you can see your current rank, and then you can see the current points that you've accrued. And then of course your profile. So updated navigation across the top. We've also added the ability for you to see prior weeks. In the current iteration, you can only see the current week or the upcoming week, just depending on where you are in the week. So we've added that ability where you can go back and forth either by week or by date. We've also added a scorecard. This comes from the Vital, the minimalist concepts. And I think the information on here is probably incorrect, but it's really placeholder information, which is fine once the people who are really charged with structuring how the VFL works and what goes on behind the scenes, they'd have a better idea as to what could go there. But calling out that we have your weekly points here, so this is a really key number. Overall, by the way, I forgot to mention, this screen is really about the week that just happened. It's not about setting your roster for the week that's upcoming. It's about the week that's happened. We will look at that in the next video, and we will look at an updated version of this screen, I believe, because there's still a few things to work out with it. But overall, it's really good for setting vision. Okay, let's dig into the player card because this is really the core of the experience. So you can so we have the 4 roles: duelist, initiator, controller, and sentinel. And if you remember, only the top scoring person in each of those roles. So you get to put 2 players in each of those roles, and only the top scoring one counts for that week. So we have them stacked here. The one that's counted gets a larger card. They have the player bursting out of the frame, which really just adds a lot of dynamicness and really kind of makes them a hero. We've of course kept the name, their points. We've added the role, so D for duelist, and then we have the duelist icon, I for initiator, initiator icon, etc., controller, sentinel. We've pulled out the different elements that make up your score. So there's 3 factors in your score, to my understanding. There's kills, and so we've said 14 kills. It's not per kill, I don't believe. It's a summary of like how many clutches you've had. Like it's a little more complex than that. But this is the part that's based around like your actual gameplay. And then there's bonus points, and then your team's win or loss. So we've broken this out. These numbers are probably not correct, and it's a bit more nuanced than I am phrasing it. But what I do know is that in the existing layout, there's 3 numbers, and so we're bringing those into a just more cohesive format. We have the team abbreviation here. Now, I really like, so before we had the team logos there, and some people might say, oh, you should include the full team name. Not everybody's going to be able to remember that. But I think if you're playing this, you probably have a good familiarity with the VCT. And if you don't, then, I mean, good games, there's a learning curve to them. And so this really adds a little bit of a learning curve to the VFL. And so if you know, you know, and if not, you got to go do a little work, and that's fine. It really, I think, adds a cool aspect to it. Games should not always just have information available. Sometimes you have to go and find it. And then there's the cost for the player. Right now in the VFL, a player is worth 1 to 2 digits worth of points. So I think they range somewhere between like 5 and 18, something like that, maybe 20, how much a player costs. This feels really awkward to me, and I think there's an opportunity to make it feel more immersive. So I said to myself, basically, let's add a 0 behind that. So let's make it 160. And while we're at it, to add the immersion, we put a dollar sign in front of that, or in this case, a euro sign, since the VFL is headquartered in England, and it feels like it's a player salary, right? Like you could imagine in theory this guy making 160K and a lower paid player making, um, I don't know, like 70K, something like that. I guess these cards are a little bit messed up because they don't have that. That's okay. It'll get fixed in the next one, but you get the idea. And this is not exactly what the players make. I'm sure some make a lot more than this. This guy might make a lot more than that. But it still really just sets you up with a feeling of like, hey, I'm a coach or I'm a manager. I'm building this team, and I have this budget to work with of, essentially $1 million because you start out with 100 points. So we're changing that to $1 million. Here's the team I can build for that cost. So it adds a little bit to that immersion. Then we have our bench over here. When it comes time to set your team, I have a vision in my head for being able to drag and drop players. So in the next video, I expect we will probably look at that, not just the screen where you see the players and you see your square from last week, but also how you set your roster and maybe some standings. The leaderboard, I think, would be really cool. So we're going to build this out just a little bit further. And but so far, I'm really excited with where we're at, and I look forward to getting to show you guys the next one. Hopefully, it won't take a week. But that's it for this one.